I'm Philip Beyer. Thanks for stopping by. Some years back, I got an excited call from a special client, now a good friend. Philip, I did it. I got rid of my sacred horse. Now, my friend Kent could always make me laugh, but he was serious this time, which made it all the funnier. I was puzzled as I didn't know Kent had any horses. You got rid of your what, I asked. My sacred horse, he repeated. It was still not clear to me, but something was definitely different from the last time we spoke. He had been frustrated about something during our process of helping him systemize his operations. It was a hard decision, Kent continued. Philip, just like you wrote in your book, I had to make a tough decision to let my sacred horse go. You know Michelle. Now, that's not her real name. Oh, you mean you let go your sacred cow, not horse, I said, finally understanding and hoping my erupting laughter wasn't putting a damper on his enthusiasm. But thankfully, he joined in my laughter. I was well aware of how important Michelle had been to my client's operation. She knew everything about everything, and he was sure if she ever left, everything would fall apart. Michelle had become a sacred cow in his business, and they both knew it. His phone call told me he was finally relieved of what had become a frustrating burden for him and his company. In my book, System Busters, How to Stop Them in Your Business, I wrote the story of a once key player in my own company, someone I had also feared losing in spite of the mistakes they made and being a little stubborn to work with at times. I had depended on their expertise with all of our operations and was sure if they ever left our company, we'd be in big troubles. Others in our company expressed the same fears about them ever leaving. Like many owners, I had danced around the issue and made special provisions for this special employee, admittedly my sacred cow. Unfortunately, I allowed them to get away with things others could not, even as it jeopardized alienating my entire crew. That had to change, and it did, when I learned the power of systems. But back to my client, Kent. For an entire year, I spent over 400 hours with Kent and his employees building and implementing systems to bring order to his business. His sacred cow, Michelle, was the go-to person for almost everything. She wielded a lot of power in my friend's business, and for reasons I would learn later, she often worked 10 to 14 hours a day to keep up. It seemed without her, the company could barely function. Kent and I worked long hours with Michelle, downloading into written systems the detailed information she carried around in her head as project manager. Now, working with Michelle was like pulling teeth, as she didn't want to cooperate, fearing she was losing her importance, which was not the case. We were trying to help her manage production with much less stress and save the company thousands of dollars due to their errors. We needed her head knowledge to build daily routine checklists for various production positions under her supervision, which, by the way, would give her more freedom. And importantly, build them a master quality control checklist for projects, all of which were scrutinized by national insurance companies. Each project required many steps and variables that Kent had given Michelle charge over as project manager, which added to his concern that Michelle was somehow irreplaceable. Fact is, Michelle's daily routine checklist, which we developed to help her job performance, was not that complicated or hard to understand once we wrote it down in step-by-step detail. However, just one of the control checklists we developed for onboarding a new project turned out to be 9 pages long. Ironically, Michelle had prided herself on remembering each of these steps without any control checklist assistance. This is where chaos in a production environment is born. Whether someone like Michelle is in charge or anyone required to remember hundreds of steps to perform a job or project, this is a recipe for disaster. Now, for this reason, even in an emergency, no one in Kent's company could step into Michelle's job because it was all deliberately locked in her head. She regarded it as job security. You can be sure humans will forget things, especially a 9-page list of prompts for onboarding a new project. Now, after we completed this 9-page checklist, I told Kent, no wonder you're losing money on jobs and making so many mistakes. How could anyone remember even 1 page of this, let alone 9 pages? Now, to be fair, Michelle was having to work many hours because doing it all by memory resulted in mistakes that had to be reworked. And many days they had 10 different projects in process. Now imagine not only the probable mistakes in just the onboarding of a large project, but add to that the potential mistakes in completing all of the work processes that make up a project. Just those processes for Kent's company required documenting hundreds of step-by-step prompts to assure nothing was missed in completing a project. Now, folks, this is powerful. Now, after building and implementing these systems, my friend Kent was so happy and relieved to finally understand what everyone in his company did, when, and how they did it. You see, he now had control of his operations through the power of systems. Sorry to say, his sacred horse, as he called her, didn't see it that way. With these systems in place, Michelle and everyone in the company were finally accountable for his or her mistakes. Kent could now easily see what could have been avoided. Now, unfortunately, Michelle complained constantly about the disorder, but put up deliberate roadblocks when asking her to help in documenting many of these step-by-step prompts. Truth is, in a chaotic environment, it's easy for an employee to hide in the messes and point fingers at others when mistakes happen. On the other hand, with proper systems like quality control checklists, mistakes are kept to a minimum. And when an error does occur, everyone can easily see who made the error and what step in the process was missed or not properly performed. According to my client, Michelle would not adhere to the new control systems. So they parted ways, and Kent was able to hire someone who embraced systems that finally brought order and peace to his company. Now, a few days after Kent's enthusiastic horse decision, he called me back even more excited. Things are running better than ever, and more of our employees are buying into our systems. They are finally getting it, he said. Oh, did I mention? Great systems work. They really do.
A mellow